Do you ever notice how quickly you try to get rid of your emotions? Like if you're feeling angry or jealous about something, you quickly try to distract yourself with something happy and get into a better feeling place. And this isn't necessarily bad if you are allowing the emotion to simply exist without judging it. But if you're trying to immediately switch into happy mode and nothing's bothering you, because you don't want to feel that negative emotion, then I think this is something worth exploring. Because when we stifle any emotion, we are basically saying that this emotion is not welcome, and sometimes we can even feel guilty for experiencing it. And if you think about kids, if you've ever watched a kid fall down and scrape their knee, for example, and maybe they're crying, and kids allow themselves to fully feel their emotions. They don't feel bad for crying. They don't feel bad for getting upset about something. They fully feel it, and then they're able to release it, and they're able to move on. That's why you can see a toddler go from tears to laughter within a minute or so. Because the toddler cries, they get everything out, and they're not identifying with that emotion of sadness. They know that sadness is not who they are. It's just a feeling. It's something that they allow to move through them because they're not attaching to it. But as adults, we can get so attached to the way we feel, and we think that this is who we are. So, for example, if you're feeling jealous, because to me, that's one of the most uncomfortable emotions to feel, then you might be feeling that you're a jealous person and that you are being too much and maybe you're not feeling enough. And we really can create this story around being jealous when the fact is we're not jealous all the time, but there are some instances where we may feel that. So I think the first step to actually addressing our emotions and letting them be there is to realize that our emotions are not who we are. They're just a part of being human. There's something that we all feel jealous from time to time. Even if for some people it may be a very small degree, I think we all feel that from time to time because, again, it's a part of the human experience, having this full spectrum of emotions. This is why nobody is happy 24/7, because emotions also show us contrast too. So if we're feeling angry about something and then we let that pass and then we come into that feeling of happiness, I think sometimes we can appreciate that feeling of being happy and content even more when we know what it's like to experience a more negative emotion. So I think it's important to catch yourself in the moment and to not judge it. I think this is really important because a lot of us have got into the habit unconsciously of judging ourselves for being in a negative space. And I would say it's probably more so for people who are on the spiritual path and who are learning about self-development. I think the issue that can arise from this is sometimes we think that if we're not feeling positive and we're not happy, then there must be something wrong. Because if you read about the law of attraction, for example, then you know that whatever you put out, you get back, whatever vibration you're on. So if you're on a positive vibration, a lot of the time, that's your dominant vibration, then that's what you'll continue to experience in your life, just more positivity. And then vice versa, feeling really negative, negativity just breeds more negativity. So the thing with this mindset is remembering that you're still human. So even though you're on this path of discovering more of who you are and just coming into this greater version of yourself and becoming aware of your thoughts, this doesn't mean that you're not still going to sometimes feel negative emotion. I've been on this journey for a long time of discovering myself, and I consider it a spiritual path. And just because I'm learning more about myself, and I'm taking care of, I'm caring about the way I feel. It doesn't mean that I can't sometimes feel upset about things and jealous and whatever other emotions. So just keeping that in mind as well. You don't have to be positive all the time. But the other piece to feeling emotions is to just not let them consume you. And I think this is what emotional regulation is really about. It's about feeling the emotion without it completely consuming you and ruining your day. And what's really working for me is coming back to that idea that this emotion is not me. And when I tell myself that, immediately I feel lighter. So even frustration, because frustration could be considered kind of not as charged of an emotion as, let's say, jealousy or anger. But even with frustration, I noticed I can still find myself feeling a little guilty for feeling that. And I caught myself earlier this morning. I was feeling frustrated because I was trying to get my breakfast together. I was trying to get everything ready so I could come out here on this hike. And I was kind of feeling that time was slipping away. And I found myself feeling frustrated for not getting everything together sooner. But I caught it. And then just in my mind, I told myself, oh, just the feeling of frustration is here. It's present with me, and that's okay. And I'm starting to notice that when I allow whatever emotion to be present, and I'm not trying to fight it, I'm not trying to shoo it away, the emotion really does just move through me, and it just dissipates on its own. And the reason why emotions seem like they stay with us all day, maybe we're angry because somebody cut us off, and then we're not quite able to shake that. And then we find ourselves just constantly coming back to that experience for the rest of the day. I think it's because we didn't allow the emotion to be fully present. Another practice that helps me get into that place of welcoming emotions is regulating my body when I start to feel triggered, for example. Because feeling triggered can be pretty intense. And that can be the time where we really try to run away from the feeling because it just feels so bad and we just want to be out of that as fast as possible. So if I'm feeling triggered, oftentimes it's because I'm feeling jealous. And when I feel jealousy, it hits me right in the center of my chest. Everybody probably feels it differently. Some people might feel it in their gut. I think a lot of times when we feel triggered, it can show up in a physical way. And so when I feel that feeling in my chest, it's kind of like a tightness, then this is where it can be very challenging to stay present with that because, again, you want to kind of just push it away because it just feels really awful. But what I've started doing is just reminding myself, yes, this does feel uncomfortable, but I am allowing it to pass. And then I will even just pay attention to that feeling in my chest and just remind myself that no matter how intense this feels, it's still not me. This is me experiencing the emotion of jealousy. So I pay attention to that tightness in my chest. And then I can even remove myself from the situation if it's feeling really bad. I don't think there's anything wrong with removing yourself from an environment where you feel really charged, as long as you're not running from the emotion. So I'll remove myself, maybe step outside if I'm at an event, and then I will gently press my feet into the ground or into the floor, whatever surface I'm on. And by doing this, this is reminding me, oh, I'm here in this moment. I'm staying in the moment. And then I take deep breaths, and I know a lot of people talk about this, but deep breaths are seriously lifesavers sometimes in these kind of situations. And I think that by calming the body first, this can often lead to being able to process the emotions more clearly. Because if your body is very activated and you're in that fight or flight response, then it may be challenging to try to convince yourself that you're safe and that the emotions are okay to feel. So I would say that if you're actually feeling triggered, then you can go ahead and start with calming your body first, letting it know that it's safe, it's okay, and that it's not in danger. Because for me, when I feel that tightness in my chest and sort of like a jolt of adrenaline when I'm feeling jealous, to me, my body is getting the signal that there is something unsafe. We're in an unsafe environment. And then I'm just not able to regulate myself properly. So again, just working with the body, showing it that it's okay, even though we just experienced an intense emotion, we are safe, where we are able to get to that calm place. And sometimes this may take a while, and this is not about rushing the process. This is about being able to sit with yourself, be very gentle, and basically show yourself that you are there for you. You are being a support system for yourself. And then in time, you'll be able to trust yourself more to be able to handle these emotions and these triggers and whatever it is. So keep that in mind, that you can definitely work with your body first to calm it. And then you can begin the practice of allowing the emotion to be present. I'm going to attach a free worksheet that you can download. It'll be in the description of this video. And it'll just be questions about your emotions and asking you things like, are there any emotions that you find that you try to quickly suppress within you when they come up? And also giving you a practice you can use so that you can actually learn to welcome the emotions. Because emotions by themselves are not bad. I think that when we start giving meaning to them and we start to stay in the emotion and paint a story about it, then it can become a problem. This is where we can start to get sick and we can start to feel like we're lacking energy, or at least that's how I feel when I'm really beating myself up about emotions and I'm attaching to the story I have around them. Then this leads me to, I'm not able to show up as my best self because I'm just not feeling well, and I'm holding on to something that's not, it's supposed to move through me. So emotions, we are not supposed to keep them around. Negative emotions anyway. We're not supposed to be keeping them around and stifling them. And because the other thing I think is, if you hide the feeling of anger, for example, I think that it will just come out later. It's going to continue to be expressed. When you push something down, it doesn't just go away. It will continue to be expressed in various forms until you address it. And this is not about taking action. Of course, you don't want to act while angry. You don't want to be hurtful towards anybody or anything. This isn't about taking action. This is about just allowing the emotion to be present without actually having to take action around it. So if you're feeling angry because someone cut you off, you don't have to go and tailgate them and flip them off. That's not about what releasing the emotion is. Releasing the emotion looks like allowing it to be there. Know that it's not you. You're not an angry person. You are a person experiencing, you're having the experience of being angry. And if you can really separate that emotion from who you really are, it's not going to feel so heavy, and you're not going to feel like you need to prove yourself and you need to go and yell at somebody because they cut you off or make this big story about it. you're going to be able to stay in that calm place, even while feeling angry. I think you can actually still cultivate that calm space for yourself while being angry or frustrated or jealous, and being able to come back to yourself and ground yourself when you're experiencing these intense feelings. So I'm going to start wrapping up the video here. I hope that you gained something useful from my message, and if you are in the process of becoming more aware of your emotions and even getting to that place where you're able to welcome them, I would love to hear about your experience in the comments. And again, feel free to download that free PDF on emotions. This practice could really help you with getting to that place of learning to release emotions without having to attach a story to them. So that's free for you to download. And other than that, you can stay tuned on this channel. I talk about things like law of attraction, manifestation, dating advice, and just stepping into a greater version of you. So if you're interested in those topics, then you can subscribe and stay tuned for more. And apart from that, thank you so much for being here with me today. I appreciate you all. I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.